Nice way to go. Keep it going. Good job, guys. All right, Paul. I see you. All right, John. Finish on. Coach Carl.
Great job, guys.
Hey there, it's Coach Curl here, and welcome to episode 255 of the Today's Leader podcast. Now, over the last couple of episodes, we've gone around the world. We've spoken with Ian Clough from Papua New Guinea, chairman of the Brian Bell Group, and we've spoken to Bo Brabo, who has gone from the military to leading teams at the White House. Today, we're a little closer to home. A key figure in the innovation and communication space, Leanne Wyvill, brings value to businesses and leaders right here from South East Queensland. Now, Leanne helps teams work better together by boosting their communication confidence and capability. She draws on an extensive experience in corporate communications, supporting aspiring leaders and business teams to deliver cohesion, empathy, and professionalism to help their performance. Now, she helps develop capability with workshops and one-on-one coaching in True Colours, and you'll hear about that in the interview. True Colours focuses around self-awareness, other awareness, empathy, and team communication. So it's a communication process, a program, which is quite fascinating to listen to Leanne as she walks through how she uses that with clients. She also helps businesses and teams with business writing, pitching and presenting, and the concept of executive presence, which is one that is quite lacking in some areas, the professionalism of a leader. So really quite exciting, some of the stuff that Leanne does. Now, and I initially met Leanne through the innovation environment here, the ecosystem of innovation, and we've done a couple of little work sessions together, some group programs. I found that Leanne really comes from a caring space and shares her experience freely. Now, during our conversation, she shares the traits of the leaders in the startup space in which she works, and some of that may surprise you. She will also share her passion for developing great female leaders, the role that stressors play in team building and team communication, and I also chip in with a tip that I shared that I took from Leanne about a kitchen timer. Now, what does that have to do with leadership? Well, let's find out as I welcome Leanne to the podcast.
The podcast is brought to you by Think and Grow Business, the home of the Think and Grow Business Mastermind. If you're serious about growing your business, get serious and join a mastermind group today. Find out more at thinkandgrowbusiness.com.au.
And it's my absolute pleasure to welcome Leanne Wyvill to the Today's Leader podcast. How are you, Leanne?
I'm doing well, thank you, Tony. It's a beautiful time of year in Australia.
Absolutely. It's actually good for me to be speaking to an Australian. I do so many interviews at really weird times. So this one is actually quite a normal time for us. We're relatively early in the morning on a weekend, but it's still a really good time. So tell me and my listeners the Leanne Wyvill story.
Well, I've been on this planet for quite some time, so I have garnered quite a bit of wisdom and lots of interesting experiences, a fantastic network of friends and family. But I'm not going to go all the way through that. But suffice to say that I'm fortunate to have lived more than half a century. I'm fortunate to have a husband and two beautiful daughters, and one of whom is producing me grandchildren, which is just lovely.
Yeah.
And I'm running my own business, living my life the way that I want to live it. Have reached the point where all my experiences, so going back from the time of being a drama teacher at one stage, being a public relations consultant, a corporate development manager, there's a whole range of things that have been involved that have led me to the point where I am today in my life. But the common theme throughout it all has been communication.
Okay.
And I think back from my mother likes to brag how she taught me to read when I was 3 years old because, she was tired of constantly having to read to me. So she taught me to read myself. And I think that, and coming from a family of expressive people, I think that's led to me always being strong in that area. And so naturally, my career path has always involved communication. For a time, I was a drama teacher. I studied drama at university.
Yeah.
But I think I was never intended to be an actor. That was not my thing. It was more about what is it about it's the interpretation that acting and the theatre brings that I think was more fascinating to me.
Yeah.
So, but I was able to bring that passion into the work that I've done, and I've had a very satisfying career. But that common element has always been communication in its different forms.
Excellent. And your business is called Presence Communication. You've also got quite a large network within the innovation space. So tell me, I suppose, so you specialised in communication and helping people get their messages across or be able to use their voice, I guess. So, and that's a pretty compelling reason why you've done that. But how do you work with people in respect of that? So what are some of the things that you do with your clients in and around the communication space?
So with communication, it means different things to different people.
Yeah.
So within an organisation, for some people, communication is the technical skill. It's the writing better, managing a meeting, doing those sorts of things. So often my clients will ask me to work with groups of their teams or their departments to focus on those technical skills. But for others, it's about communication generally and the cohesion with teams. So, why isn't the team getting along? Why is the team leader or the team manager spending so much time on the people issues instead of on the project issues?
Yeah.
So that there's sort of, those broad aspects of communication. And what does communication mean? It's shared meaning, and what happens when shared meaning doesn't take place. And I also have individual clients, coaching clients, as you do, Tony, and people choose to work with me or are asked to work with me by their managers because sometimes some people don't want to be seen to be lacking in their skills. So particularly an executive doesn't want everybody else to know that they can't do something. So having the one-on-one coaching and training is beneficial so that we can then go through particular areas of need. So one of my clients that I'm coaching at the moment, she's a young woman who is working in a male-dominated field.
Yeah.
And so we work through ways to adjust her communication to navigate situations that arise and to be assertive without coming across as being, or being not so much coming across, but being labelled as bossy or bitchy.
Yeah.
So that's something that we're doing at the moment. So it depends on what the clients need, what they see as gaps within their team or within themselves, and that's we tailor it.
Absolutely, and sometimes it's that real fine line. Some of the key concepts that just resonated with me as you were talking, the concept of cohesion within teams, which is so vital, and sometimes it's, and I think if you did a poll out of 100 people who likes conflict, I think 95% of those people would say no, they don't like conflict. But it's how we constructively deal with that conflict to make a team cohesive at all times. I like the concept of shared meaning. That's real big resonating pieces out of a book that I did a review on called Crucial Conversations, to get that shared meaning within a one-on-one conversation, but it's also about aligning to vision in so much. So there are so many things that you just spoke to that resonated with me that I'm sure resonated with so many other people. So what are some of the problems that people have when it comes to communication? Why doesn't it seem to get the focus that it should?
One of the things I think is the assumption that everybody is like us. And unless we have had the experience, the opportunity to do some self-awareness training and some team awareness training, we often don't realise that our way is not necessarily the only way. And as you know, Tony, you're involved with, you're a DISC facilitator, and I do True Colours. And the opportunity for people to realise that there is another way of doing it, or why someone is not behaving in the way that you would do, you would. And so that awareness often, gaining that awareness can be the catalyst for such productivity and better team cohesion. But often businesses don't realise that is the starting point.
Yeah.
And that if they had that, a lot of other problems that are experienced wouldn't be escalating.
Yeah, absolutely. There's a quote that, and I'm not sure if it's a Maxwell quote, but I heard it through Maxwell's, but I think it's somebody else's quote. The biggest problem with communication is the assumption that it's occurred. So many times during my leadership career, when I had leaders that were struggling to execute or to get something done, the amount of times that I heard people say, "But I've told them what to do." And you could sense that frustration within them, that to their mind, they had communicated what had to be done. But somewhere along the line, that message was diluted because some things just didn't get done.
And being aware of how other people behave in the workplace, in a team, what are their strengths?
Yeah.
Being aware of that and taking responsibility for navigating around that, rather than just digging in the heels and saying do it my way.
Yeah.
Yesterday I had the great pleasure to be on the South Passage sailing training yacht out in Moreton Bay, and it was this is an organisation that focuses on youth, but because they've had some COVID restrictions, they've now opened up what they offer in their program to corporates. So there we were, a bunch of adults out on the bay. It was a beautiful day, and talking to us about we had to work together. We actually had to get those sails up and make sure that no one went overboard and that we didn't go off course. So it was great team building in a very subtle way. But one of the crew there jokingly said, "Come on, let's all work together and do it my way." and I thought, yep, that happens so often. Let's all work together, but we're going to do it my way.
Yeah, everyone's got to listen to me because my way's the best. But you've all, I
have consulted you. I just asked you to do it my way.
Yeah, absolutely. What's wrong? What am I doing wrong? And why aren't people buying into this? Well, it's pretty clear when you can look at it from a fresh perspective. So I wish it was a unique and a rare situation, but unfortunately it isn't, is it? So you would see that quite a lot, that sort of process, that sort of attitude. And I think, that really does come down into that awareness piece that you were speaking to. Now, you mentioned, was it True Colours? Tell me about that.
True Colours is a team awareness and empathy building program.
Okay.
What works best with teams. And it's originated from the States and built on the same research and perspectives for personality and temperament typing that we have with Myers-Briggs, DISC, Kiersey, those. So it's a fun way to bring people together in a safe place to say, this is me, this is what matters to me, this is how to get the best out of me. And also, how about you? How can I work best with you? Yeah. So it's a safe but fun environment in which we do that. What I'm finding that particularly through COVID, when I've had the opportunity, because of course I've had to run this course online, but we are getting back into some face-to-face, which is terrific. But what I find is clients are asking me, or that the team leader, the manager, when they contact me for the program, they're asking me to particularly look at stressors. That if we understand what each other's stresses are and can recognise when somebody is not coping, well, then we can work with that. So rather than assuming that the person is being lazy or the person is being obstinate or arrogant, if their behaviour changes, what can we look out for particular personality types, so that then we can adjust the workload or adjust how we try and connect with them. So, for example, in True Colour speak, when a green person is under a lot of stress, they will withdraw completely.
Yeah.
Complete withdrawal. That's them not hiding and not doing the work. That's they've reached a point where connecting with other people and having to explain themselves is just too hard.
Yeah.
It just saps their energy.
Yeah.
So if you know that about someone in your team who's a green person, then you can adapt for that. And, for example, green person people, you don't pry. If they volunteer information, love it, accept it, but don't pry. Whereas if you have blue people in the team, they love knowing everything about everybody. They're the glue of a team, and they like to get to know what's going on so they can be supportive and helpful. But unfortunately for green people in the team, they hate it when blue people pry and ask, what's wrong. So as a team leader, understanding the dynamics in your team from that point of view can help you identify the friction points or the gaps in that cohesion, because people are choosing to communicate differently. So if you know that, you can help to manage it and keep your team engaged.
One of the things that I hear a lot from people, and when, especially when you'd be out there talking about True Colours, I go out there and I talk about disc profiling and how it links into leadership and what have you. So many people say, but which one's the best? And the way that I always answer that is that they all serve their place. And one of the biggest things about any sort of personality profiling, whether it's True Colours, DISC, or, I've got particular fondness to the team management system, the TMS, because I had that done a number of times during my career and I really resonated with it. So they're all very good. I mean, there's very few that I would say don't bother doing, because they all have some value, and it's the value that you find in them is where you resonate, where you can change behaviours. So I would guess the same as with True Colours. If you're seeing a team that can suddenly understand each other a little bit better and modify and adjust to get the best outcomes and best results and best culture out of everyone, it's actually served its purpose, hasn't it?
It does, and that's where, clients comment to me, what I have is clients coming back to me because they worked for one department or one organisation, and it was great. They've moved on. They've got a whole new team.
Yep.
Or there's been dynamic, restructuring within the organisation. They've got a new team. So have to bring Leanne and True Colours in again, because they know that system works for them. They have a vision for their team.
Yep.
And they see that, the True Colours way will work in this instance. And sometimes it's availability. I had a contact from someone in Victoria recently who wanted to do the program. I'm in Queensland. And we said, okay, how might this work? Oh no, we can do it online. It's not the best, but it still works. And she said, oh no, I really want someone to be here. Can you recommend to me another True Colours person to do it? Now, I was in a situation where I actually don't know of anyone in Victoria doing True Colours, but I do know someone doing DISC.
Yeah.
And I thought, well, I listened to what her needs were. And what she needed was a program. Great, would be fantastic if it could be True Colours, but to meet her needs, I could at least refer her to someone I knew who was a DISC facilitator who could serve her needs and could turn up because they live nearby.
But and sometimes it's just the program that people need to start the conversation.
Yes.
And they still then start to grow together, as long as they don't lose sight of what they've learned and what they've been made aware of. So Leanne, who's inspired you in your leadership journey?
I think of all the managers, the people who've managed me over my lifetime, including my parents, I must say I am very inspired by my mother, but a lot of times but it's because, the tenacity.
Yeah.
I think tenacious leaders really impress me. People just go, no, I'm determined this is going to happen. I'm going to hold this together. I'm going to bring this together. I'm going to make something happen.
Yeah.
And they don't give up too easily. So tenacious leaders, and my mother's one of those. Also, I think about bosses who have understood me, who have got me, who have known how to work with me and to bring out the best in me.
Yeah.
and when they do that, then my respect for them grows. So my motivation to help them achieve what they want to do grows. I've had actually, while I was sailing yesterday, I had fond memories of a boss, the amazing Scott Clark Smith, who was someone who I connected with very early when I was in my 20s, and we remained lifelong friends despite distances. And he unfortunately passed away a few years ago, but he was an avid sailor, and he would often use sailing. He would draw on the crew analogies in the way he had such gentle leadership. And he was well loved. He could be an absolute bastard too, and he admitted it. But he knew how to lead people.
Yeah.
And another person that I have had the pleasure to work with is David Henderson at UniQuest. Very different to me in so many ways, but because I had to learn how to work with him, my respect for him grew. I think in terms of wider leadership, I have a lot of admiration for Barack Obama, and I only know of him through what I have seen in the media, but I admire what I see and continue to see. I see him as gracious. So tenacity and grace or graciousness, those things are important to me in a leader.
Excellent. Now, you work quite heavily in the innovation space. You get to meet a lot of the entrepreneurs, startup leaders of today. What are some of the traits that you're seeing in the new, let's call it the new wave of leadership that is coming through? Because the entrepreneurs and the startup founders fundamentally are different in some respects, but they also have some of the traits that we treasure in leadership. The authenticity, the characters that they can be. We know that. But what are some of the other traits that you see within the leaders of today?
Generosity. So being generous with knowledge and sharing knowledge. I think that is the hallmark of this era of leaderships coming through the startup space.
Wow.
I see that as willingness to share and the realization that holding on to ideas and hogging them and being territorial and sharing what you've learned and not sharing what you learned is not going to get very far for anybody. We need to work at a very fast pace.
Yeah.
And to do that, we can't be holding on and holding back. So I see that as something that is very strong and evident in leaders who are working in innovation. I'm not talking about giving up intellectual property. I'm not saying it's about letting it go and losing value in that way. It's about the know-how, not the actual product or technology know-how, but the way of going about business. So it's far more collaborative. Leadership is far more collaborative now, particularly in the innovation space. The recognition I can't do it all. If I try to do it all, it's going to slow me down. So I'm going to collaborate with that group and gain from them, and then I will give back by letting them know what I know. Yeah. And I think that's where we have some strengths. And certainly in the high profile innovators that we see and the investors in innovation, we see, yes, they're quirky. There's still room for quirky and individualism and strong. Like there's still that strength. You've still got to be strong. You've still got to be firm. You've got to be committed and passionate. Those things are still existing in the new wave of leaders, as you call them.
The ability for the people to continue to develop others is just such a strong sense of leadership. And what I'm just picking up from you is that they invest in each other by sharing, concepts, ideas, giving people space to speak and communicate. And I think that that's something that is evident within the startup space. You don't see too many lone startups. You see groups of people coming together. And then you're seeing those pitch events on a very regular basis where people are putting together pitches to share with the community, so to speak. And from what I've seen in some of those pitch nights, it's not about raising the next $300,000 worth of capital. Sometimes it's about, I just need someone who's got some ICT skills who can come in and give us a hand for a bit. And so the pitch is different, although in still a similar format. So I tend to agree with you that unless you're involved in that sort of space, you don't get to see some of those traits that we're seeing in the new leaders. So that's fantastic. So you think leadership is in a good space?
I think so. And I think that there's, it's like any generation is, has to find its way and find the groove, and to find that groove that's going to work for the generations before and after. And I think that it is a very positive time because it's working. This style of leadership is working.
Yeah.
Things are happening. There are new technologies getting there. There's still some obstacles because, what startups need is the opportunity to demonstrate that what they've come up with works.
Yeah.
So pitching for money, just straight pitching for money for grants or pitching for investment constantly is only going to get them so far in technological development and market, awareness.
Yeah.
What startups need is opportunities for people to purchase their products.
Yeah.
These are procurement policies that our leaders need to look at. Yeah. And I know that there is some headway happening, but not everywhere. So while at the moment through, this year through COVID, very strong local buy, shop local government saying, okay, if you are, if your business is based in this region or, in this council area, we're certainly going to put you in the shortlist. So, well, there's that happening, but I think also what we need is in those procurement policies is for people to say, okay, who's out there with a great idea? They're a small entity, but my goodness, they've got something that could be quite transformational. Let's be part of the transformation, not just part of the transaction.
Yeah. And I've got a really big belief that in this country especially, I mean, if I'm say a Woolies or a Coles or a Wesfarmers organisation, at the moment they embrace innovation if they've got a need that they need to solve, and they'll embrace and pick the teeth out of the startups or at some stage. But I also believe they've got a larger role to play. We can't always expect that our governments are going to be able to fund the innovation space. And when we've got organisations that quite honestly make quite a bit of money, and of course that's in everyone's interest because we've all got our super funds that are tied up in their shares. But there is a real opportunity for startups to be linking or aligning with some of the major players, even if it's not necessarily a program that's going to solve a problem the Woolies have. It might be just one of those business decisions because, people invest in startups and they do that for a reason because they usually get a return on their investment on the ones that are going to be successful. So it's not like it's just like it's a social conscious, let's put some investment into the startup space to make us feel good. There is a real opportunity for some of those larger businesses to be a guiding mentor, so to speak, in terms of creating the opportunity for them to work under their company banner and then potentially to make some money. But that's just a personal thought process. So I'd love to see it happen, and I know it happens in some spaces, but I think there's a real way to go forward. So, Leanne, when we're going through our own leadership journey, there's usually some inevitable troughs that we come across, and there's even that word that we love to embrace at times and hate other times, that word called failure. Tell me about how you've dealt with your inevitable troughs as you've gone through your journey, and tell me about your relationship with failure.
Well, I can think of two particular times of failure. One was recent, one was this year. And I think that I'm still around. That's the first thing. Okay, picked up, dusted off, accepted it for what it was.
Yeah.
Years and years, must have been last century. I tried to do something rather innovative. I tried to run an event that was smoke-free for people with asthma.
Okay.
So for people with asthma and allergies, at that time, so we're talking about the 90s,
Yeah.
and people, clubs and restaurants, and smoking was still the norm. Everybody, but what we had was people who couldn't go out and socialise because it was actually dangerous to their health. So I tried to organise an event that would be a combined fundraising event and social event, and it failed.
Yeah.
So it was very disappointing. When I look back, and I think about what I learned from it. So at that time, I was involved quite a lot with event management. So I learned from that.
Yeah.
And a simple thing I learned was, do not book a band simply because you spoke to them on the phone. You must listen to the band. And even if the band has a name that you think resonates with your cause, you must go and listen to the band.
Yeah.
So that was one thing I learned. And the other thing was from that.
So can I take it, Leanne, the band wasn't very good?
The band was good, but not appropriate.
Oh, gotcha.
It was the wrong kind of band for the event. Mind you, these days it's great. You can go on YouTube and listen to them first.
Yeah, absolutely.
Another thing was that I did take a piece of advice from a mentor. Unfortunately, it turned out not to be the best advice.
Okay.
So when I was a bit concerned that the numbers were down, I said, look, do I cancel? She said, don't cancel. She said, it will look like if you cancel, it won't look good from a PR point of view. You need to still go ahead. The people who do turn up will have a different kind of experience, but you want to be able to say it happened and there's a precedent. So we went ahead, but I still often wonder, should we have cancelled?
Yeah.
Should we have cancelled? Sometimes but they're the sorts of things that I go, okay, where did it go wrong? Why didn't it work? And thinking about it and analysing it. So I don't think I had a bad event after that.
Yeah.
Because I was on the board. So it taught me to be extra particular about those details.
Absolutely.
And my other failure this year was I've been thinking about running an online course for a long time. I'll do that. And of course, with COVID, here was the perfect opportunity. Suddenly people were at home. They could, and there was a big encouragement, use this time to upskill. So I thought, great, I need that course. I need to get that course out there. So I pulled together the course, but I did try to get some beta testing, but I didn't. In my hurry to get it out there, I didn't allow enough time for the beta testing. While I collected the feedback, it was not enough feedback. So out there, launched my course. Yeah. Crickets, I did make one sale.
Yeah.
But, and I've gone, okay, now I have to, and instead of getting distressed about that, I went, okay, I'm going to treat the whole process as a beta.
Yeah.
I have learnt from the whole process.
Yeah.
And open it up wider to get the feedback that I need. And recently I've got some feedback. Someone said, oh God, Leanne, I can see there that one of those modules is 17 minutes. I'm not going to sit there for 17 minutes. Okay. Great feedback. I can go in and chop that module into 2.
Yeah.
I know that now. So I think it's, it's about the learnings.
Yeah.
You learn from your failures.
Yeah, absolutely. I love that concept. But one of the beauties that you now have, Leanne, is that you've got an online course. So the initial launch, you may have considered a failure, but it's still an asset that you've got that you can take your learnings, resurrect it, shift it around, change the target. So it really is about learning from your failures. And that event space, that just does my head in so many times. It's, and I guess once again, there's the learnings. Just because we think an event would be absolutely awesome and the people would be lining up at the door, often that's not necessarily replicated out there in the general public, as we know. So it's really about targeting your message and trying to get the best message across. So when you're going through some of those processes, how do you manage your energy flow?
Interesting question, Tony. I work very much on my own for most of the week until I'm having time with my clients. So I've got to be mindful that I keep my energy levels up that I don't fall into a fug of, well, nobody's watching, so don't necessarily need to do anything. I do have to keep my energy levels up. I have to, what inspires me is because of the kind of person I am, connecting with people. I need to have, a phone call or meetings, mostly via Zoom or Teams now, but doing that at least once a day, because I gain energy from other people. So talking to someone else, hearing what's going on, that keeps me motivated. And I know that about myself. So if I find myself sort of slowing down, I know that what I need is to have that opportunity to connect with someone. And the other thing that I do is, I look for the joys in life.
Yeah.
I look for the joys. And for me, I'm fortunate, as I say, beautiful children and a beautiful grandson, another one on the way. So I that joy comes to me, which is just beautiful. I don't actually have to go looking for it, but I appreciate it when it's around.
Yeah, and I believe so firmly the joy is in our journey. So as we're moving through our journey, we've got to be looking for the joy. And even though at times it gets incredibly tough, that's part of our journey. So, and that's part of how we end up becoming the people that we are. One of the things that I'll share with you really quickly, Leanne, is that you once shared a story with me, because we've done some work together, and that's always a pleasure working with like-minded leaders. But you shared a story with me about how you manage and schedule in your time when you really need to be singularly focused, and you'll be sitting at your home office and you'll be giving yourself, whether it's 20 minutes or 30 minutes. And the way that you manage your time then is that you go set the kitchen timer for that 20 minutes or 30 minutes, meaning that no distractions, you sit down, you get the work done, the kitchen timer goes off, which means that you then can physically and intentionally take that break away from that really disciplined time. And that's a story that I just love. And it's a story that I share now with my clients who are looking for, how do I get stronger discipline? How do I get more structure in my time? And, because we all get distracted at work, and we've all got people we used to have people running around the office all the time. And that's just a really simple way that, instead of just having the timer on your desk where you can just tap it and just continue on, because that's not healthy for you either. You actually take that intentional break after you've set it. And I think that that's just a wonderful tip that you provided to a group that we were working with, that I sort of made a little mental note, and I said, that's really cool. So I share it. So I just thought I'd share that. So Leanne, leaders or readers, what are you currently reading at the moment?
I'm going through a book about TED Talks.
Okay.
Something I can't think of the name at the moment, and this arrived in the post for me.
Okay.
Shall we do it? I'm just going to do a little bit of
So you're doing an unwrapping on a podcast. Yeah.
It's something that I always.
Yeah.
Here I have it. It's called Change is Not a Scary Word.
Oh.
10 Influences Leading the Way. So
Okay.
It's a compilation book.
Yeah.
And it just arrived in the mail this week. And this is what I was hoping to get my teeth into this weekend.
Excellent.
So a series of books. And it's because I am connected to one of the authors. And I was involved with a compilation book myself this year. And it's a great experience. Writing a book on your own is, I've done that. So, that's one type of experience. But when you're connected with other people, it's just a different type of team work that you have to do, a different kind of stimulation. So, so thanks to Chris Christoph, I will be reading this book.
And it's called Change is Not a Scary Word.
Yes.
So yeah, we'll have to get you back on and let us know what it was like. So, because change is another one of those things that requires just the correct amount of communication. So, and the right communication.
Absolutely.
So what's the vision for you going forward?
For my business going forward?
Yeah.
I spent this COVID time doing a lot of work on my business. I've had the time and the headspace to do that. So I've decided to make a strong commitment to team communication, and working with a digital ecosystem advisor.
Okay.
I have revamped my website, and because she was listening to what I was saying about my business. And sometimes it's hard to work on your own business. You need other people to help you with your business, as you well know, Tony, as being a coach, is you need someone else there to bring out, and when they ask you the right questions, you say things. So now the focus is on getting the team awareness as the starting point. So rather than the granular stuff of, can they write, God, how do they construct an email that's not going to cause huge events?
Yeah.
How do they do a presentation? So rather than working on these skills, coming in at that broader level of how do we get the team working together, and from that, then we can work out where the skills gaps are.
Gap.
So that's where I'm taking my business at the moment.
Excellent. And out of everything that you have accomplished over the last couple of years, what are you most proud of?
7 years. 7 years, small business, 7 years still going strong.
Yeah.
Buck the trend.
So it's really interesting that 7 years in business is actually something to be proud of, because, at the end of the day, so many people want to do it, but won't do it or can't do it or stay in the comfort of their corporate or their government roles. And when they've got so much more that they could be potentially offering outside. So congratulations on that. That is an accomplishment. So Leanne, last question. Oh, well, it's one of my last questions. Is there anything that I haven't asked you yet that I should have asked you? So this is your chance to jump on a soapbox, spruik about anything that you want to spruik about. This is your opportunity.
Okay, well, what's next? If I, determined to make it happen, is that I'll relaunch my other book, Chicken In, Handbook. Chicken in.
Yeah.
So instead of chickening out, you chicken in and face up to doing presentations and pitches. So
wow.
I'll be relaunching that. So if you ask me, what's happening between now and Christmas, that's what I would tell you is going to happen. That'll be coming out soon. I did publish it a couple of years ago, run out of copies, time to republish. So it's got a fresh cover. Been a bit updated, and I'll have that out just in time as an excellent Christmas present for employees. Better than socks and undies for dads and brothers. So that's the question. What's next for the end of the year? That's what it is.
Excellent. Chicken in. So everyone, please watch out for that. So in saying that, how can people connect with you, Leanne?
I love connecting on LinkedIn. I'm quite active on LinkedIn, as you know, and I love it when people ask to connect with me, and then I can then share more of what I have to offer with them, and also find out what's of interest to them, because then I learn about what matters to people in terms of communication. So certainly LinkedIn is that first point of call. I've got a website, presencecommunications.com.au, and there's opportunities for people to send me a note via there as well. Not big on Twitter, not big on Facebook, but I certainly can find me there a bit too.
Excellent, no worries. And I'll have those links in the show notes. So Leanne, thank you very much for popping into the Today's Leader podcast. Thank you very much for your time.
Absolutely my pleasure, Tony. Thank you for the opportunity.
Join the group of people impacted by seriously simple stuff to get you unstuck. The first book by Tony Coach Curl. Available at Amazon, Tony's Simple Stuff provides the tool for people to master your life and aspirations. 20% of every book sold supports Carter's cause.
I always find it interesting speaking with leaders or the people that help develop leaders. I always learn so much, and it's amazing how some simple tips can really transform the way in which you lead. And today, it was the case today with Leanne. You may not have the luxury in having exposure to other leaders, but in my mind, it's really important to find them, because sometimes it can be just a very simple statement that you can really make some great headway with. Now, Leanne shared some great takeaways, some key takeaways, including the concept of shared meaning in communications and the impact that stressors play in the way that you behave and connect. And one of the key areas that I really want you to think about is that having a genuine curiosity and a care for your team you can actually develop this awareness yourself, and you can go on to become a much better leader. By building that rapport, we can truly connect, and when we can connect, we communicate better with greater care. I really want to thank Leanne for her insights today. It was an amazing conversation, and I know that she does great work. Leanne can be contacted at her website at Presence Communications, or connect with her on LinkedIn, and her Presence Communications is in the show notes. In today's disruptive world, good leadership skills will always stand you in great stead. If you are looking to build better leadership skills, check out the Today's Leader website at todaysleader.com.au. Now, our website showcases the podcast and our magazine, and we're pleased to say that our masterminds are now available. Now, we are supported by our network sites, and Today's Leader is a collective mindset for the leaders and entrepreneurs of today, forging the path of success for tomorrow. The mindset to make a difference and the ability to create an impact. Are you a trailblazing leader? Trailblazers are energetic leaders driven by an ideal and a desire to fulfill their potential. Trailblazers may be climbing the corporate ladder or building a great startup team. Now, this roundtable, the Trailblazing Leader Roundtable series, is built around the concept of self-leadership and building the foundations for great teams. Build the leadership structure you need from the Trailblazing Leader Roundtable. Now, this is not for everyone, but the question must be, is it for you? Find out more at todaysleader.com.au. Think and Grow Business hosts our mastermind and roundtables, while the Coach Curl Academy hosts over 75 programs to help you build better leadership. Join for just $1 for the first month. The academy that equips you and enhances your mindset, leadership, and business. Check it out at thecoachcurlacademy.com. You are standing stronger, braver, and wiser. Don't forget the golden rule. Don't be an arsehole. I'll see you next week.